Okay, so we are recording as well as live on YouTube. We can start anytime we want to. Asha?
Okay. Shall we start then?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Good afternoon to everybody in the afternoon session. So in afternoon session, we have 3 talks. And the first talk is from Professor Rajiv Patnay. So first of all, I will give some brief introduction about him. So it's really a pleasure for me to introduce Professor Rajiv Patnay. He is the chairman of the Department of Geology at Punjab University. He has done his PhD from Punjab University, and his research area is vertebrate evolution, paleoecology, geological context of primate and human evolution, and the impact of climate change on the evolution. So, in his research area, out of his research work, he has published more than 100 publications in most of international reputed journals. And he is also editor of many international journals. So during his career, he has received many awards, fellowship, research grants. So it is difficult to list all of them, but I will just mention 2 from the latest one. So in 2016, he received National Geoscience Award of Ministry of Mines from Government of India by Honorable President of India. And recently in 2019, he has elected as Indian Academy of Sciences of Bangalore. Today, he is going to talk on the rocks and fossil of Himalayas. So it's my pleasure to invite you, Professor. So before going to start your talk, I have one small question. So would you like to take the questions in between your talk, or you like to attend at the end?
Anytime, in between also, no problem.
Okay.
Anytime. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Asha. Thank you, Jasjeet, and thank you all who have joined. Good afternoon to everybody. It's really a wonderful opportunity for me to sort of interact with the students of I guess 12th standard. Plus two students.
Plus 2 undergraduate.
Undergraduate student. Okay. Right. So Himachal is part of basically it's a state. It's a Himalayan state, I would say, and most of Himachal is like occupied by Himalayas. And what you see on your screen is a Spiti Valley. If you just if you are in Delhi, or if you have come to Delhi ever, or if you have visited Chandigarh or Mohali, it's not very far from here. The moment you just drive north, within few minutes you'll enter Himachal, and you just you'll get a glimpse of the fabulous mighty Himalayas. So the picture you see on your screen is Spiti Valley. It's Tethyan Himalaya. I'll let you know what Tethyan Himalayas are. Basically, there are 4 divisions, you can say, Himalayas, if you divide them into horizontally. Like if you go from south to north all the way up to Tibetan Plateau, there are various divisions, physiographic division, I would say. So first you'll encounter like sub-Himalayas or lesser Himalayas, and then you'll come across the central Himalayas, and then the higher Himalayas, and the Tethyan Himalayas likewise. So this is basically a map showing the kind of riverine system Himachal has. The red line basically defines the border of Himachal Pradesh. And I'm sitting somewhere here, very close to the Himachal border, Chandigarh. And as I just mentioned, the moment you just enter the Himalayas, you'll see a steep rise in the elevation. So you see what you see here are topographically mostly what you call the northern part is snow covered, and then you have the central part, pretty higher Himalayas, and the southern part is sort of low elevation, of low elevation. That would be at the maximum 2,000 meters. So, so uh, now for a geologist, if you're looking from a top, we look for rocks, and what you see on your screen are basically outcrops. You know what outcrops are? These are the exposed areas where the underlying rocks are visible in a way. So these are squeezed to a particular scale. That would be like A is somewhere close to Punjab here, Chandigarh, Punjab, Mohali, and all, and out here is Shimla. So you can just imagine kind of the scale here. So these are basically outcrops. Now, uh, as you can see, these outcrops have been named, like Munsiari group. We basically name these rocks by their presence, where they are present, or if they have any diagnostic or any particular feature in them. So as I've just mentioned, as you move from say Chandigarh out here, and as you move towards Shimla, you'll find the younger rock. So what you see, the gray colored is Indo-Gangetic plain, where we live. I mean, I'm living at the moment, and and 5-6 kilometers from here, northeastwards, you'll see the sub-Himalayas. So these are younger rocks. Then you'll come across the older rocks. So this is how they are sort of distributed. And if the rock structure, the earth structure is like cake. There are these layer over layers over layers, and these layers are often folded and faulted, like crumpled. Particularly in case of Himalayas, these are crumpled, as you can see below. The same section, like it's an anatomy of the Himalayas from A to B. So if you cut through, if you go through, of course you can't do that, but we can actually interpret from these outcrops how these rocks are oriented, how they are formed, or where they are there deep down under the surface. So what you see here, the yellow ones, the sub-Himalayas, the younger ones, and then you'll find some very old ones, like the blue one sitting. Now it is interesting that there are some purple ones, some blue ones, some red ones, some orange ones. So often you'll find sometime you'll find these orange one. You see this orange thing? This is Shimla basically, and this orange things has come from all the way from somewhere in the north. So due to folding of these rocks, these rocks can move long distances. Now, important thing is that we do not realize, we do not sense, but we are basically moving northwards very slowly, at the rate at which our fingernails grow. We are moving very slowly towards the north. That's why we experience earthquakes. And this very boundary, what you see here, the Indo-Gangetic plain, and then you have this kind of boundary. This is basically a fault. So fault is a crack that goes deep down inside the earth, and along which some movement takes place. Now, whenever there are earthquakes, basically movement takes place along these cracks, what you see here. So, so it is a very tectonically active area. In a way, it is moving, all the time moving. And it has been moving for millions of years. How do we know that? What we do, if we just kind of figure out that what is the rate of movement, we do it using GPSs. So we'll put a station somewhere and then record the GPS location year after year after year, and then we'll know in which direction the landmass is moving. So that is why Himalayas, or for that matter, the whole Himalayas, is so exciting in the sense that it is moving all the time. And if you rewind this movement, if you wish to, if you imagine that if you rewind this, what will happen? India would move backward, isn't it? It'll go backward all the way. It'll go back and it'll collide with Africa or maybe Madagascar. We'll come to that. So all these rocks you see, they are so fascinating, not only because they have different sort of origins. Like one, you see igneous rocks. How the hell you'll get a volcano here? Well, these volcanoes were there long ago. You might not find them today, but this very amalgamation of all sorts of rocks, metamorphic, sedimentary, igneous rocks, have been formed since billions of years. I'll let you know how. Okay, some more about this cake. So if you look down, you see this is how the topography is. So this is main boundary thrust. Thrust is a kind of a fault. It is a crack. So if you are in the Indo-Gangetic plain, the first thing you would encounter, not main boundary thrust, of course, here it is shown main boundary thrust. There is another crack that goes in front of that. That is Himalayan frontal thrust. After that, up the hill, you'll find another thrust, another very big crack, main central thrust. Likewise, you'll get a lot of these thrusts. These are basically faults. And how do they generate? First, the whole thing gets folded, and then cracks develop, and along the cracks, movement takes place. So see here, this is Indian plate where we are sitting now, and beyond Ladakh, the plate is called Asian plate. You know, Earth is made up of several plates. You might have heard that these are pieces of crust. They move around all the time. Uh, some move northward, some northwestwards, some get generated somewhere, some get uh, subsumed somewhere. So basically we are the Himalayas has got these very collision zone where Asian plate and Indian plate join. So this is the suture where the junction is, where the Indus flows, where the Brahmaputra flows. So of course that is beyond Himachal, but most of part of the Himachal covers a lot of Himalayan rocks. So this again a little bit more of the sections, like, you know, we make sections. So again, same thing, Indo-Gangetic plain, and then sub-Himalayas, and then all these rocks as you move towards the north. So this is the cartoon just shows how such a thing happens. So yellow one is Asian plate, and the purple one is Indian plate. And when they collide, when such a collision takes place, one plate goes down, the other plates overrides. So this is what has happened when India-Asia collision took place. So Himalayas are witness to amazing sort of phenomena called tectonic collision. So we'll come to that. So let me take you billions of years back.
Sir, there is one question.
Yeah, please. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Omkar, can you ask?
Yes, Asha, please ask.
Okay. Is this tectonic moment is the reason of rise in the height of Himalaya, or it is?
Yes. Yes, it is. It is the reason. Every year it is rising few millimeters high. Okay. All right.
Okay, that is the question. You can continue.
All right. Yeah. So let me take you back when India was not at all here. So it is continents were together some billions of years ago, almost 1.5 billion years ago. You see, India was at the equator. You can look at the shape, and all these other continents and subcontinents. China was here, and since then we have the rocks. So what you see in the Himalayas, you have rocks that are as old as 2 billion years old. So this was the time period when India was part of a supercontinent or a group of continents called Columbia. Then after a while, around 100 million years ago, sorry, 1,000 million years ago or a billion years ago, things started changing. So again, you see a lot of shifts. India became part of India crossed north, and you see it is here. And we have in Himachal rocks that's that old. Of course, once you have 1 billion year, 2 billion year rocks, followed by all these rocks that are 1 billion years old. And you'll find them not very far from here. Just close to Shimla, you go and you'll find 1 billion year old rock. Right. So as time passed, things started changing further. Now we are into almost around 500 million years. Now two big supercontinents are being formed: Gondwana land and Laurasia. And what you see here, India attached to Africa, Madagascar, Antarctica. And in the north of India, there is Tethys. That is this ocean that was where a lot of sediments were being deposited by rivers that used to flow from south, that is from India towards northwards, right? So it was getting filled up. So gradually things changed. And what you see, if you look at the Tethyan part of the Himalayas, you'll find fossils that used to live in the ocean. So if you go to Spiti, the first slide I showed you, let me take you back. That's Spiti here. This is Tethyan Himalaya. These rocks you see, you'll find these organisms. These are cephalopods. These are mollusks, marine animals. They used to live in the ocean. Now you find them plenty in these rocks. Now they are part of the Himalayas. They are elevated to thousands of meters. So where will you find these Tethyan rocks? Somewhere here in the north. I'll show you there. There you go. So Tethyan Himalayan sequence, the green ones here, the green one here are basically Tethyan. Out here you see the green one here. This is Tethyan sediments. It means the sediments, the sand, the clay, the mud that was deposited north of the India when India was attached to Africa, Antarctica, very closely packed to these continents. And for that, you have to go all the way north to cross the greater Himalayas. So what you see here, these lines, this was the profile some millions of years ago. Now what you see, because after erosion, what you see here, that is the sort of profile you see now. All right, so going back to our fossils of the Tethyan. So these are the mollusks that used to live some 200 million years ago in the Tethyan Sea. And you find, of course, these are impressions, and you find these nodules, which are also called Shaligrams. If you ever visit Spiti, this Kinnaur area, you'll find these nodules coming out from the rocks. So these are kind of often in temples they are used as symbols and idols, but actually they contain fossils inside them. So they represents some 200 to 300 million years of animals that used to live in the Tethyan Sea. Now the whole thing has been elevated and become a part of the high Himalayas. Some more fossils from those areas. These are some bullet-shaped cephalopods. You know what cephalopods are? These are kind of mollusks. They live in the ocean. Today also you'll find them, but most of them became extinct at the boundary, when dinosaur died out. These animals also died out around 65 million years ago. So that is a different story altogether, but these were there 65 to 200 million years ago. All right, so again back to the position where you have all these continents together. Now this is the time when India is about to leave its place. Why? I'll show you. So 200 million years ago, India being part of southern continent, supercontinent, Gondwana, Antarctica is here, Australia is here, Madagascar, Africa, South America, all together. Then things started changing. All these cracks you see here, lava started pouring out. Why? The earth behaves in such a manner that at several places, wherever there are the zones are weak, there lava comes out, because the earth is made up of various layers. The innermost layer is core, followed by mantle, and then crust. And within the mantle there are a lot of radioactive elements. Radioactive elements keep radiating. If they radiate, they would produce a lot of heat. That heat produces melting, and because of buoyancy differences between melt and the solid, these liquids have to come out somehow. So wherever there are weak zones, wherever there are cracks, they come out. So volcanism is the main reason of tectonic movements. So what happens when you see this was 200 million years ago. Now what you see 100 million years ago, all these red points are basically volcanic eruptive zones. 70 million years ago, India was somewhere here, and all these eruptions are taking place. Now what does that does? Well, eruption will happen, volcanoes will flow. How would how eruption would make a continent move? That's very important. That's very interesting. I'll show you how it makes a landmass or a crust move. I'll show you in a moment. Just remember that volcanism around this very region was the reason these very continents or subcontinents started moving apart slowly and gradually. And India, in fact, had to travel a distance of more than 7,000 kilometers all the way from Madagascar to, to China, Asia here, to collide. So the fascinating journey of India covers a huge distance, huge distance. So things started changing somewhere around 100 million years ago, which sort of led to these movements. Okay, right. This is a front part of India, where you see that's Indian continent here, and lithosphere basically comprises both the continental crust as well as the oceanic crust, and it is moving towards north, and something has happened towards north where it is going down under another crustal, another lithosphere. Now, important thing, as I was just mentioning, so in the south, that is here, crust was being generated. When crust was being generated, the old crust was pushed, and it happens all the time. As I just mentioned, if you look at the mid Atlantic, if you look at the mid Pacific, you'll find new crust is being generated, and the old crust gets pushed sideways. So that is why you get earthquakes all the time along the Japanese island. Along the Japanese island, crust goes down, and in the mid Pacific, crust gets generated. So such things makes kind of movement possible. Now this conserves the overall mass of Earth. So Earth is being created at one place, crust is being created, sorry, not Earth, part of Earth, crust is being created at one place, and at the other place it is getting consumed. So overall its size remains same, right? So what was happening, crust in front of India was being consumed here somewhere, and crust at the behind here was being formed, being generated. So India started moving. That is why India started moving towards Asia, and it brought with it the billions of year old rocks, the ones I showed you. When India was 2 billion years old, it had some rocks, some rocks were formed in the ancient ocean, or some rocks were being formed due to metamorphism, that is compaction of these sedimentary rocks. So it carried along with rocks of that era, and the rocks that were being laid, or that had been laid between India and Asia, they were also being pushed up slowly, gradually, which would ultimately form the Himalayas. All right, so the story goes that a first crack was generated, and the front part of the lithosphere, or front part of the Indian crust, went down. And when it goes down, because of depth, every 50 meters, the temperature goes up by 1 degree centigrades. And as the slab goes down, it gets melted. and the melt goes up, comes up, leading to formation of volcanoes. So these are the volcanoes what you see in the Himachal areas. All right. So then after a while, another crack generates in front of further down, further north, and there also the slab goes down, generating some magma and emitting those magma, uh, giving out those magma. Now, this was around 100. Just a moment. All right, I'm back. So what you see, somewhere around 100 million years ago, such things formed, and they sort of gave rise to these volcanic rocks. So there are rocks, there are sediments which were developed at the front of India. There were sediments being developed behind Asia, where Karakoram is there. So all these, and of course there are these volcanic rocks. Gradually, this ocean gets squeezed, and the sediments and other rocks, they started rising. So that is why you see all sorts of rocks ranging from 2 billion years to almost 200,000 years in Himachal Pradesh. Okay, so from top, that was a sectional view. That was a kind of a internal structure, and from top, what you see, some 50 odd million years ago, such a thing was happening, and Tethys, as you can see, was being sort of it is getting squeezed. So, and this very yellow star represents a place called it's place in Gujarat. It's a mine where a lot of fossils have been found that are fairly interesting, but not for today's discussion. We would be focusing on fossils and rocks which are found here, which formed here, and but these organisms have bearing on these. Anyway, so as India moved closer and closer, the ocean started receding towards south, and this was the time when whales started originating. So what happened for people who work on biodiversity? This is a huge opportunity to understand the present day biodiversity of India and Asia, because when a continent, a subcontinent collides, it brings with it its own biota, and collision leads to bridging, and that would allow fauna and flora to migrate from south, from Indian bloc to Asian bloc, likewise from Asian bloc to Indian bloc. So biodiversity changed radically. Asian biota was swept through. Indian biota was kind of was overwhelmed by Asian biota. Many animals and plants uh, which were kind of there in this very raft, you can say a ship, had now opportunity to move outside. So there are many interesting findings that have been made from the Himalayas. Now I'm going more into the fossils that has changed our understanding altogether. Right. So who were the new entrants? Some rhinos, some crocodiles, some fishes who came all the way from the Asian part, and from Asia, and from India, some went out from towards the north. Most likely, there is every possibility India was home to the early primates, our own ancestors. We are primates, monkeys, apes, and their ancestors. Most likely, the debate is still on, but a lot of people believe India carried the ancestral stocks of early primates who would give rise to then move to Africa, and then the rest is history. Right. So they, while India was moving, we find a lot of exchange. It was not only exchange between Asia and India, but some between Africa, some between Madagascar, some between even Europe. You might ask, how come such an exchange take place? Where there are different possibilities. There were islands, small islands that would connect, and there are hypotheses that by rafting, or I mean, sometime wood or leaves would float and can travel long distances. Such exchanges had been taking place. So coming to the evolution and origin of whales. So why? Because whales originated right here, and they did not look like the ones you see today. They looked like something like these. So some 25 years back, a team from Punjab University, they were sort of exploring a place called Dakshai, Sabathu. It's very close by. It's just, I would say, 40 kilometers from here. And there they were looking at marine rocks. Of course, as I told you, there are marine rocks that were formed inside the sea. And while exploring, they found jaws that looked like those of early whales. And after that, lot of papers came in. Many papers were published, and uh, uh, it was a huge. There were huge media coverage. So the Tethys, the Paleo Tethys was, or the ocean in at the front of India, was the place where whales were developing. Now, what happened with the whale evolution? When you look at the whale evolution, this is Indo-Hyas. Indo-Indian, of course. Hyas is a pig-like animal. So Indo-Hyas was an animal that used to live very much in the northern part of the Himachal Pradesh. When there was ocean around, it did not live in the ocean. It was a land animal. So ancestor of whale was a land animal with hind limb and forelimbs. So it was like a very similar to a dog, you know. As whales started, or as these ancestral animals, they started moving into the ocean, they changed their shape because they had to now transform themselves according to the water, according to the requirement of deep water. So this is what you see in India and Pakistan. All, Himachal Himalaya is just a small part of the Himalayas. You just go westward, you'll come to Kashmir, Jammu Kashmir, and further west, Pakistan. So whale evolution is very well documented right here in front of you, where you'll find these fossils, and we have constructed their phylogeny. And and interestingly, they have got a toe. The limb bones are the pulley bone is so similar to hippos that they have been tied with hippos. So they are basically ancestor of hippos, and ancestor of whales were common. Whale and hippos had common ancestors. And DNA, and people who work on DNA, they have verified this, that though they do not look alike, they live in different places, but they are uh, joined with each other in the past, right? So some more photos, some more images. These are the skeleton elements we have found, which, this is the present day whale, and whale still has got these limb. Whale is a mammal. It has got these limb bones still around, but they're rudimentary. And at the back also, there is a pelvis is also there. So it has not lost, or not entirely lost the limbs. So Himachal is amazingly important for these findings. And also this very diagram shows how the Tethys was slowly started receding, and Himalaya started forming. All right, so one story is India-Asia collision. India collided, it sutured, Himalaya started forming. And the other story, though connected, is collision of Africa with Europe. Africa was also isolated, kind of an island, but not very far away. I mean, geologically not very far, but far back in time. But some 20 million years ago, it collided with Asia, with Europe, Eurasia. And that collision led to a bridge, formation of a bridge. And that allowed, again, as I told you, first there was a migration between these continents, then there was migration between these. So most important was elephants. So, elephants, which you see today in India, came from Africa. They were not here right from the beginning. Elephants, aardvarks, also other animals, they got an opportunity to move to India, and we find them there. We find their fossils in Himachal Pradesh, not very far. Just you go 15 kilometers from here, you'll find them. And if you want to see fossils, come to my lab. And there are museums in Chandigarh also. I'll show you some other museums. So, well, another very important and interesting phenomena, I must tell you, that collision of India led to the rise of Tibetan Plateau. And that led to the origin of monsoons. Imagine today we have monsoons because of India colliding with Asia. And whole of Asia is dependent on monsoon. So there were no monsoons before India collided with Asia. You see a block of land mass rose 5 kilometers above mean sea level, and that changed everything. And monsoon changed climate, climate changed fauna and flora. So that is also preserved in Himalayan rocks. So this is a cartoon which shows You'll find it in the net. It shows rise of the Himalayas, leading to rise of lighter air, bringing about leading to further kind of creation of vacuum, which which sort of led to migration or coming in of water laden air from the south, and monsoon started forming. So monsoon changed everything. You have, once monsoon started, you have different sort of faunal and climatic things. All right. So well, just to tell you that earlier all these this I have already mentioned, this was the profile, and now what you see, the whole thing, because of monsoons, the whole thing gets eroded very fast, and gradient is keep on this gradient sort of allows a lot of erosion. All right, other fossils of these fascinating state are like the ancestral apes. So if you are from Himachal Pradesh and if you live somewhere close to Bilaspur, there is a place from where ancient apes have been found. From where? From the Shivalik ranges, from the sub-Himalayan rocks, right? So let me just give you a perspective. These yellow ones here, these yellow ones are the rocks which are precursor to the Indo-Gangetic sediments today. So earlier also there were these rocks, they were like Indo-Gangetic plain, but got pushed up. So we have fossils from these very places. All right, so apes also lived here. And if you go to the field, you'll find these rocks, and this is very close to Chandigarh. You'll find these inclined rocks. Rocks are deposited horizontally, but become inclined because of upliftment, because of squeezing, folding, and faulting. Another very interesting find is called Endopithecus. This guy also lived, gorilla-sized ape in the Himachal Pradesh, and the fossil is here. It is reposited in Punjab University, so in anthropology department. Some reconstruction of these Endopithecus, or often called Gigantopithecus in China. Same taxa has been found in China and Vietnam. Giraffe, look at those. These kind of giraffe were there. Can you imagine? So you got to come to the museum or visit some other museums to see such fascinating creatures who lived in Himachal Pradesh. All right, so the bridging of gap, bridging of Asia and Africa led to a lot of migration. Among them were some rats and some elephants, and also this very guy called aardvarks. They also came all the way from Africa. Hippos also came. So there are varieties of hippos. We basically make the reconstruction from the skeletons we have. Hippo-like animals. Elephants, of course, I've already mentioned. They are not actual inhabitants. Their origin is from Africa. The reconstruction of this very giraffe that used to live, short-necked giraffe. Camels were here. Now they have gone back to Africa, but they were here long back. So it is not only Africa they came from. From America also there were mammals that traveled. So from America, when the Bering Strait got connected in the north, out here, there were exchanges, and that allowed horses like Hipparion, an ancestral horse, and Equus, the present day horse, camel, rabbits to come in. And some fauna went to rhinos and other mammals they took to America. All right. So what you see, not only these elephants, but a variety of them in the Himalayan foothills, and you find a variety of these creatures, these mammals, animals living here, and we have been able to study their teeth. We have been able to analyze their bones and all, and found that earlier forms were mostly browsers. They used to live on fruits and leaves. Later forms, they became more and more grazers. They started living on grasses because of climate change. And why climate change? Because of monsoonal rainfall and all, right? So I would recommend you to go to a park called Saketi Fossil Park in Himachal Pradesh, of course, just 70 kilometers from away from here. So if you go from Chandigarh, it is somewhere here close to Nahan. You'll find all these fossils. Of course, in our department also you'll find fossils. There are some fossil woods in Kasoli. If you ever visit Kasoli, there is every chance of fossil wood and leaves. So I would conclude saying that Himalayas preserve a huge wealth of rocks and fossils that go back to millions and millions of years, and they allow us a lot of information about earthquakes, climate change, and evolution of all sorts of organisms, including whales and elephants and primates. And there are exciting places for you to visit in the Himachal Himalayas. So I would thank the organizers for giving me this excellent opportunity to interact with you guys. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir, for the nice talk. Now we will move to questions. We have
Sure.
one question from Fabi. Sir, with what speed did Indian subcontinent collide with Asia?
Well, it was almost 15 centimeter per year at that point of time. It was moving at that very speed, 15 to 16 centimeter per year. But the collision rate, we don't know exactly, but after collision, the rate drastically changed. So, now just less than a centimeter per year, it moves very slowly. But that point of time, when India was moving, it was moving like very fast, 16 centimeter per year.
So
Yeah.
Anybody has question? Or I just want to ask one question, that continuation of this. So what will happen in future after say 70 billion millions years? There will be movement in other continent or something?
Oh yeah. In fact, I must tell you, you might have heard earthquakes in Latur, in the northern part, southern part.
Yes.
In southern part. So what is happening is now the pressure is shifting southwards. So there is every possibility that a crack would develop somewhere down south, and plate might crack and go down. So India would become shortened, further shortened. So crust has been getting shortened and shortened and shortened. And this is not only happening in India, all over the world this is happening. A time would come, Japan would sort of merge with China. That China would be, of course, very happy to hear this. So, but it will take many millions of years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Others, people, do you have any question? Please ask. You can put either in chat box or raise your hand. So, yeah, Professor Indulekha.
Yeah.
Please ask.
Hello, madam.
Hello, Professor.
Yeah.
These movements are not northward.
Yeah.
North is related to rotation of the Earth.
Yeah, yeah.
So these movements have to do with some circulating currents in the core of the earth.
Yes, yes. Because of current, these convectional currents happen all the time. The lava, when comes out, it comes out in a cyclic manner. So these currents are going on, and wherever there are weak zones, there the lava comes out. So basically, within the top part of mantle, these very things are going on, and which is called asthenosphere, and just below mantle. So there these currents are there.
And India going and hitting the Asian plate, is it
Yeah.
because the Indian plate is small that it has a larger speed?
No,
Otherwise, both plates will be moving. No?
right. The depending upon which, yes, you see, Australia has moved eastwards. South America has also moved westwards. Africa has remained almost there because uh, of the distribution of ridges, mid-oceanic ridges, in a way. So wherever there is crack, uh, to begin with, the plates would move in both the directions. The movement, the speed would depend upon if what is happening on the other side. If there is a collision has taken place, if continents and continents have collided, then that plates would slow down. If there is no such thing, if the crack is within the oceanic plates, which is thin and denser, then it will be faster. So that is why when India first began to move northwards, it was very fast, because the crack was within the oceanic plate, which is thin and dense.
Thank you.
Okay, there is one more question from Febin.
Yeah.
So is there any reason why there is more land mass in the northern part of the earth than south?
Yes, you see, when we talk of 100 million years ago, most of the landmass was in the south. Because of tectonic movement, all these land masses started moving northwards. So India moved northwards. Likewise, America, North America also moved further north. So this way, a lot of land masses, they moved northwards from the southern hemisphere. When you go back, you will see such shifts have been taking place all the time since the start of Earth's formation. So sometime because of tectonic movement, land masses would amalgamate at one point. Now, because most of the crust is in the north, continental crust, so we find that a lot of part is occupied by land.
Okay, there is one more question from Akhilesh R.
Yeah.
So he's commenting, thank you, sir, for wonderful talk. Then his question is, will be there a chance to acquire another collision of plates and the formation of highest mountain in the world?
Oh yes, yes. This will go on. It is always going on. You see, if you go to Greenland, new crust is being formed. If I'll show you. I'll try to show you a figure here. Yeah, you see, you look at my arrow here, Africa here.
We can see
New crust is being formed here. Now this very portion of Africa is going to split. and this part will go that direction, in this part will go. This is a rift valley. This is a newly forming rift. So once that started, that happens, new mountains will form away from these areas. So this will go on all the time, goes on, like as I told you, these are Japanese islands here, and there is a subduction zone here, that is plate is going beneath the Japanese island. Now this also getting pushed. Now more and more mountains will form when these two land masses combine. So when you look at all these mountains like the Andes, the Urals, all along the coastal areas, these are basically because of collision. Now depending upon what kind of collision, ours is a continent and continent collision. You know, to begin with, it was a ocean collision. Now it has become continent collision. When continent collide, the rise is pretty phenomenal, right? So that is why there was a lot of sediments, a lot of rock between, so it got elevated to such an extent. Otherwise, mountains that are, you see there are all these mountains, they're all because of tectonic movements. These are elevated areas. These are all mountain chains, all formed due to tectonic movements, and they will keep forming. It'll keep going on. Of course, India is now slowed down, but there are other places in the world where things are going on.
Any other question?
Asha, can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
Sure.
So Rajiv, you mentioned that elephants were not native to India, and that much of the Indian species, plants and animals, they were overrun by the Asian species. Yeah. Do we have evidence of some species which exist now in fossil form, but no longer exist in life form?
Oh yes, there are many such fossils which were there here. I mean, you do not find them. I mean, all over the world, or in India, you are saying?
India, because you were saying that the Indian biomass was essentially overrun by the Asian one.
Yeah. So yeah, there are some fossils. You won't find them. You don't find them nowadays. But there are some living fossils also. Like we have found a rat that we found it from Ladakh. Now Ladakh is an arid zone, and 25 million years ago, this rat used to live. So we thought that this rat became extinct, but very recently the same rat, because of we can identify the rats based on its skeleton and teeth, has been found in Laos, in Vietnam. So that has lived, but now migrated eastwards. So likewise, orangutans are considered as a stock that has is a remnant of the kind of apes that used to live here. So they are still around, and whales are of course gone. The walking whales are gone, now replaced by the other whales. And there were a lot of sharks in the Himalayas. Just close to Chandigarh, you find fossil sharks. Just along the road, you'll find shark teeth coming out of these rocks. So now they are all gone.
Thank you.
There is one more question.
Yeah.
From Thaira.
Yeah.
What has actually caused the uplifting of Tibetan plateau in the deeper manner?
Tibetan plateau, the same thing, the tectonic movement. Let me just show you. You see, the whole thing is going down here, and that has, so there it is. If something goes down, this is the Asian plate, which rose, which has risen so high. So one reason is that a part of the Asian part of the Indian plate has pushed the Tibetan part uh, up, because it was going down, and because it brought along with it a lot of material which formed part of that very accretion. Was I able to explain, I mean, make him understand her?
Thyra, are you okay with the answer? Or I can, if you know, then I can unmute you and you can
Yeah.
ask.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, actually another term which is related to this phenomenon, am I allowed to ask that?
Sure.
Actually, I read a paper regarding this, regarding the upliftment of the Tibetan plateau and all. And in that, they were given as that were related to the atmospheric aspects or impacts of this collision, Indian plate with the Asian plate. Actually, they were telling an phenomenon, that is the disclosure or closed of the Neo-Tethyan decarbonation subduction factory. Actually, I don't get this term, sir. Can you please explain this?
No, there's something mixing here. You said due to atmospheric changes?
Yeah, the CO2 changes, actually.
No, CO2 has changed over the years.
In the Cenozoic era, sir, sorry.
Yeah, Cenozoic era. Carbon dioxide content has changed.
Yes.
That is true, because over the earlier CO2 content was more, then it has come down. You know what happens when a landmass rises? It because of weathering, lot of carbon and oxygen gets consumed in the weathering. Also, there is a chemical process. So that is why over the years, because of a lot of tectonic movements, atmospheric carbon dioxide has come down. But of course, after industrial revolution, we have ourselves contributed a lot of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. That's a different matter. But overall, in naturally, earlier Earth, if you go millions of years back, concentration of carbon dioxide was more. But it has nothing to do with the rise of the Tibetan plateau, because atmosphere won't make any difference as far as the tectonic plates are concerned. It would, of course, erode if every day a lot of erosion is taking place, and that load gets shed, and because of that also the area gets occupied by new material which is beneath the earth. So that is happening slowly, and that is why we see there is a rise in the Himalayas. But atmospheric carbon dioxide concentration would not have any bearing on the rise of the Tibetan plateau. That's what I think.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Any other question from audience? If no, then let's thank the speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So our next speaker is here.
Okay.